Good evening.
Evening.
I welcome all of you to tonight's candidates forum, State Senate seat, District 6. My name is Jerry Gilbert. I'm from Profile Insurance Group. I'm also the immediate past chair of the Greater Rochester Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. Also a member of the Governmental Affairs Council, and I'll be serving as tonight's moderator. The Greater Rochester Chamber of Commerce is pleased to present a candidates forum so that voters in Rochester and the surrounding communities within District 6 have the opportunity to hear from the candidates seeking election to the District 6 State Senate seat. I want to thank the following for their support of tonight's candidates forum. First and foremost, Eastern Propane and Oil is tonight's sponsor. Eastern Propane and Oil is a family-owned and operated company serving Rochester, New England since 1932. The District 6 State Senate Candidates Forum is an excellent opportunity to get to know those who greatly influence the direction of our state and our local community, and Eastern is proud to sponsor tonight's event. And we wish both candidates good luck. Also want to thank MetroCast Cablevision, who's taping the forum tonight and will be rebroadcasting it several times prior to Election Day on November 6th. The City of Rochester for the use of their facility. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Ken Ortman and Bruce Boudreau, who are assisting us tonight with emails and phone-in questions in the back room for the candidates. Here's the format for tonight's debate. Both candidates will have 2 minutes for opening remarks. The media panel will ask questions regarding particular topics to the candidates. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to the questions. Our official timekeeper, Patty Bonapane, will hold up a 1-minute sign to alert the candidates how much time is remaining. At the 30-second warning, the 30-second mark, a warning sign will be held up to alert candidates to start concluding their remarks. And when the sign time is held up, we ask that you immediately conclude your remarks. Questions will also be taken from the audience. We ask that you submit questions by placing them in the basket at the back of the room. Index cards are also on the table out back. So please write your questions down, put them in the basket, and then Laura will be retrieving those periodically throughout the candidates forum. The order of opening and closing remarks was determined by a drawing of straws, very scientific. And so we'll begin with that momentarily. But before we do that, I'd like to introduce tonight's media panel. First, from the Rochester Times, we have John Nolan. And from MetroCast Cablevision, it is Tim Kremen. We're hoping to have one other media panelist who had indicated they would be here, and I guess is running a little bit late. After the candidates' opening remarks, the panel will ask, as I said, questions on the various issues for as long as time allows, alternating between the candidates. Before we begin, I want to remind the audience that this forum is an opportunity for candidates to share their views on the various issues facing our region and the state. Signs or comments endorsing or criticizing either of the candidates are prohibited, and we ask that you hold your applause until the conclusion of the forum. So with that, I'd like to introduce both of our candidates. To my immediate right is New Hampshire State Representative Sam Cataldo of Town Road in Farmington. He's a native of Lawrence, Massachusetts. He attended Lowell Technical College and also Northeastern University, where he obtained a bachelor's degree in industrial management. He later attended LaSalle University in Louisiana, where he obtained a master's degree in nuclear engineering. Sam is married with 5 children and has a number of grandchildren. He has resided in Farmington since 2000. Sam served 6 years in the U.S. Air Force as a rated pilot, and he later gained his commercial pilot's license. He spent 11 years working in research and development as an environmental technician and an engineering reports writer. During his career, Sam designed the first portable area contamination compactor while working in the commercial nuclear field. Lastly, Sam is a certified Novell engineer and has taught computer classes at various high schools and businesses. Sam is a former business owner and very active in his community. He is a member of St. Peter's Church and regularly attends Rochester 912 meetings. He is a member of the Granite State Patriots and is a lifetime member of the National Rifle Association. He is a member of the Farmington Fish and Game Club and serves on the Town of Farmington Budget and Capital Improvements Committee. Sam was elected to the House of Representatives in 2002 and served until 2006. He was again elected in 2010 and currently serves as one of the 8 District 3 Stratford County representatives and is clerk for the Science, Technology, and Energy Committee. Richard Leonard was raised in Hanover, Massachusetts, and is the oldest of 8 children. He graduated from Sacred Heart High School and attended Massachusetts College of Pharmacy and Health Science, where he earned his BS in 1975. Richard has 4 children and 7 grandchildren. He was married to Phoebe Gullett, a surgical nurse, in 2004. In 2009, Phoebe was diagnosed with colon cancer at the age of 47, and she succumbed to her illness in July of 2011. Richard has been employed as a pharmacy manager in Hannaford and Alton, New Hampshire for nearly 8 years. He also owns and operates and resides at the Miller Farm in New Durham. The Miller Farm is a small 40-acre farm with a 380 fruit tree orchard, sugar houses, and 2 horses. Annually, the farm produces sugar maple, apples, and peaches. For the past 3 years, Richard has provided the Farmington School District with in-season fruit. Prior to moving to the Miller Farm in 2004, Richard was a resident of Rochester for 26 years. Richard has been a lifelong Democrat and is currently a member of the Advisory Council for Stratford County Stratford County Cooperative Extension Service, whose function is to oversee the budget for the UNH Cooperative Extension Service in Stratford County. In his free time, Richard enjoys flying and is a private pilot with the Skyhaven Flying Club. Before we hear the opening remarks, I just want to mention to the folks at home that you can email questions to us at forum@rochesternh.net, and that's on your screen, I believe, as well. And the phone number to call in for questions is 335-7557. So with that, I will call on Mr. Leonard for his opening remarks.
Good evening, everybody. First, I'd like to say thank you to the Rochester Chamber of Commerce for hosting this, and to the sponsor, Eastern Propane, and also to Foster's, John Nolan, and to Metricast, Tim Crimmin, and Paul Wesker Drive, WGIR. Thank you for being the moderators. Thank you for the audience to coming tonight, and for people at home watching. The first thing that anybody ever asks me when I'm in a position like this is, why do you want to run? Well, I'm running to bring common sense, dignity, and trust back to our state legislature. Common sense plus an open mind is key to analyzing the complex issues as they are presented and studied. Consulting with other members of both parties in the Senate and the House to achieve what's best for New Hampshire will enhance dignity and trust in our legislature. You deserve a senator that will represent your values and your concerns, and do so with an open mind, and not to be driven by political ideology or extreme social conservative agendas. Our political system was founded on the participation of average working class citizens, like myself, who are willing to give back to their community and do the business of government. I am running to give back to my community and be your public servant to the best of my ability. This is my first time running for a public office. My goal is to improve our economy by creating a positive business environment, to establish a collaborative relationship between economic development councils, businesses, our university system, and our community-based colleges. My experience My business experience covers not only managing the busy pharmacy department at the farm, and the farm, but I also manage a small business of commercial rental property. I believe, I hope my unique life experiences will serve me well and you well in performing the duties of your New Hampshire State Senator for District 6.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard. Mr. Cataldo.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for attending, and the moderators and the questions we'll be receiving shortly. My name is Representative Sam Cataldo. I'm a present representative from Stratford County, and I live in the town of Farmington. As a member of the Science and Technology Energy Committee, these past 2 years I've been its clerk. And the fun part about the clerk is you have to listen to every word that's being said and spoken about a bill. And then you kind of throw it away, but you don't. I remember. One of the things I want to speak about is I have a very diversified background. And that background entails not only business, but technical and engineering that I've had. Some of the things that weren't spoken tonight about my background is I was cemetery superintendent also. I'm a small business owner, Christie's Beach Way in Seabrook, New Hampshire, and I know what it means to sign the front part of the paycheck. Working at AFCO and Raytheon over those years and the technical experience gave me a lot of knowledge and time. I worked days and went to school nights. The fun part was when I was on the road working as a nuclear engineer, but I worked actually in health physics. Health physics radiation protection down in New Jersey. That New Jersey plant, Oyster Creek, is part of 3 Mile Island. I was one of the first in the nation to be picked to run as a supervisor in that shift as a contractor, myself and 3 other men. We worked and did our job to protect that plant and the workers. And the nice part was my wife worked with me. She was a senior health physics technician, and it worked out great. We worked on the same shift. When I went on shift, she went on shift. It was a great company to work for, by the way. We have a great night tonight, and the reason I'm running again is to make sure I continue the work we've done in the past 2 years and bring it on to the Senate. So I thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Cataldo. We'll begin with the panel questions. And our first question tonight will be from John Nolan for Mr. Cataldo.
Well, we'll get this one out of the way right at the beginning, and it's not a criticism of either candidate. For the first time, a massive amount of untraceable money from secret donors is pouring into New Hampshire to influence elections, often by demonising a candidate, case in point, Dick Green. While this is legal under a 5-4 ruling of the US Supreme Court, do you think it's ethical? And what, if anything, can or should be done to counteract this trend, which some people believe has a corrosive effect on democracy?
To be honest with you, John, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's being done on both sides. That's number one. We have a system in this country, and that system is to gain money from whoever we can get it from, as long as it's honest and meets the rules of the law, and that's what it's done. And in that sense, to cut it short, nothing wrong with it, it's legal. The newspapers that I'm looking at and I'm hearing from you people is you're castrating the individuals who are running, and that's what I feel. These people, the newspaper again, are cutting these people apart. For what reason? We're getting the money to do our job, to run. We get paid $100 a year, you know that. And it takes money to put these flyers up to get the people to understand who we are and what we do. So what is being done by these outside influence groups, I don't know what you're talking about, because again, what was done to Dick Green was not my concern, okay? It was not done by me. But it was done by the people who had a reason why and brought out the information. Because I would never knock Dick Green. You know that as well as I do. I will renown myself as an individual and protect the individual and what we're talking about, and always protect their rights. Thank you, Joe, for the question.
Thank you. Mr. Leonard?
Well, the particular flyer that's in question that attacked Dick Green, when I first saw it, it kind of took my breath away. Not having been in politics, I was stunned when I first saw it. It was sent out by the New Hampshire Advantage Coalition, whoever they are. I later found out that it was probably paid for by Koch brothers' money. But outside influence, purchasing, negative publicity in the state of New Hampshire and our state local elections is certainly uncalled for. It goes back to Citizens United, the decision by the Supreme Court, which allows huge amounts of money from undisclosed contributors. It's something that I am against, but really don't have much control over either. That's it.
Mr. Leonard. Our next question will be from Tim Cronin. It will be Mr. Leonard.
Mr. Leonard, would you support expanded gambling in the state of New Hampshire? Or why not?
Currently, both state gubernatorial candidates have come out and said that they are somewhat in favor of expanded gambling in New Hampshire. It's certainly a potential source of revenue, and not having a broad-based tax on the table, certainly we need to look for those sources of revenue to fund what we need. That being said, I would have to look at it and really listen to the testimony. I'm not against expanded gambling in New Hampshire, but I certainly need to know more of the facts as it would be presented to the Senate when the time came. And of course, with expanded gambling comes social responsibilities, social problems, gambling, people with gambling problems. That is going to happen regardless of whether New Hampshire proceeds with the gambling plan, because it's already occurring in Massachusetts. My understanding is the spillover from people that will be going to Massachusetts to take part in Massachusetts gambling. We're going to feel the effects of the social issues, and that's going to cost us some money. So I need to look at it more.
Thank you. Our next question will be from John Nolan. It will be for Mr. Leonard.
If elected, what will be your position on the state's involvement with so-called Obamacare?
Well, the Affordable Care Act will provide coverage for people in New Hampshire that don't have it. Presently, we're looking at 100% funding of Medicaid by the federal government effective 2014. That's for every person in New Hampshire that's low income or without insurance. Those are federal dollars, which are basically our dollars anyway. I would be in favor of accepting that and going forward with Obamacare, affordable care. Medicaid will be funded at 100% for 3 years, and the funding will drop down to 90% by the year 2020. I think it's very good for New Hampshire to participate in that, and I would be in favor of proceeding in that direction.
Talbot, on that question. Everybody was looking at me. I know I messed up. We'll get back to Mr. Talbot. First question.
The answer is no on the healthcare. One of the things that we enacted these past 2 years, okay, to stop this thing from maybe happening in New Hampshire, we have to understand what the repercussions will be, and that's what we have to look at, is the repercussions. Over the years, we used to have at one time in New Hampshire, I'm going to go back to 2001, we had 26 insurance companies here in New Hampshire. We have 3 now, and there's where your problem is. The problem needs interstate commerce, like we do when we buy our cars, our insurance for our cars and so forth. We need to go across that border and buy the insurance we need, and that's where the competition comes from. It doesn't come from Obamacare. That Obamacare, you need to sit down and read it, and I have read parts of it, and it's nasty in plain English, and I'm going to be honest with you. You read it and you'll understand. It's going to take this country down the drain. Period. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Talbot. If I could have Mr. Cronin repeat his First, his question to Mr. Leonard.
Mr. Leonard, would you support expanded gambling in the state of New Hampshire? Why not?
Sure, I will.
No.
No problem, yes, I will, and I'll tell you why. A lot of people say, well, Sam, you're different. Well, I'm not different than anybody else. When I worked down in New Jersey, Atlantic City was only 35 miles away. And once a month, the wife and I would go down there at midnight and stay there till 5 o'clock in the morning. She had $20 and I had $20. And we had fun. Sometimes I won, and sometimes I lost that $40, okay, $20 a piece. But there is gambling right here in New Hampshire now, right in Hampton Beach. I don't think anybody realizes it, but it's there. They have a casino there, they have roulette tables, they have gambling tables, you name it, cards and so forth. It's here in New Hampshire. But I've seen people leave New Hampshire and drive down to Connecticut in a bus, going to casinos down there. I voted for that bill every time I was in House, all the way back to 2002. There's nothing wrong in having casinos here in New Hampshire, as long as that money goes to where it's supposed to go appropriately. And at the time, it was going to go to help the schools out, and that's what I was voting for. So the answer is yes, we'll expand the gambling in New Hampshire. I haven't any problem with that. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Try to do it right, Your Honor. Mr. Kremen, a question for Mr. Cataldo.
Would you vote to repeal the same-sex marriage amendment to the Constitution of New Hampshire?
I already did. Man and woman is marriage. I have no problem with the unity of two people. It's a civil union. It's not a marriage between two people. And that was my answer. That's why I voted for it. That's why I voted for it. Very. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Mr. Leonard?
Well, I think we need to focus on business, getting jobs, education, and healthcare for the people that live in New Hampshire. These social issues keep coming up, and it distracts from the real focus that we need to be laser focused on. To answer your question, I would not vote to repeal that at all. It's a civil right. Two people come together, regardless of gender. They become a family. They become citizens, upstanding citizens in the state of New Hampshire, and that's good. That's pretty much all I have to say about that, except that we need to focus on other things. State legislature, get back to the business of our state. Agreed.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard. Next question from Mr. Nolan for Mr. Cataldo.
The answer is no.
Well, this is right up your street, sir. I know you oppose Northern Pass project, which would bring in hydroelectric power from Quebec, defeat the grid. But let's not go into that. Do you think that nuclear power and coal-fired plants have a future in New Hampshire? And do you support wind, solar, and geothermal projects?
Thanks for the question, John. Just to give you a little background, I was the chairman for the renewable energy here in New Hampshire back in 2006. And we had the wind power come in for a week. Then we had geothermal, the exchange, biomass, and hydro. One of the things at the fifth day on the wind power, when they finished, I had a question. As you do realize that you're going to be supplying power to the grid, which feeds New England, not just New Hampshire. And number two, can I have your stock number? And he looked at me and said, why would you want my stock number? I said, well, you're making money. We have to pay for all those poles and wires that you put up. That means you and I, the taxpayers, pay for that while you make money. And that was my answer then. Geothermal is one of the ways to go, and that was the sponsor of that bill. We have an Artemis here, hot dry rock in New Hampshire. This hydro rock can give us what we need, and at a cheaper price, by the way. Wind power is not the answer. Wind power does not lower electric rates, and that's the key we need to do in New Hampshire, is lower the electric rates. We're not going to do that with wind power. But the geothermal, our nuclear plants, we've got to go back to Seabrook. Seabrook is supposed to have 2 units. The second unit, 1979, March, 3 Mile Island. I was there the next day. I remember what happened. But because they did not have their license on unit 2, the president at that time turned around and said, everybody shut down if you don't have a license. And we lost a nuclear plant, and we had sufficient power in the state. And we still do, by the way. And you want to get about Northern Pass? We don't need Northern Pass. Case number one, we have enough power going to the grid. Thank you very much for your question, John.
Mr. Leonard?
Well, I think we obviously have to deal with the sources of energy that we currently have today, nuclear, oil-fired generation. But I think we also need to look beyond that to the future and try to encourage other alternative sources of energy. I disagree with Sam on the benefits of wind power and solar. These are opportunities that we can't ignore, that we really have to investigate. That being said, it's to our benefit to support programs like regional gas, RGGI, Regional Gas Initiative Program, greenhouse gas. It's not the best program out there, but it does bring some of the funds back to our economy to explore and help out with initiatives.
If I may do a follow-up on that, please?
Sure.
One of the things you need to understand about RGGI, the PSNH customers pay an additional amount, by the way, they're the ones who get paid that. They get charged X number of dollars for the RGGI. We killed that bill in 2004 in my committee. We killed it in 2006, and when the Democrats got in, they passed it. And all they did was increase the rates to all the ratepayers in New Hampshire. And that's not the way to do business in this state. We need to save money and do it the right way. RGGI is going to go down, and I'm going to gladly when it's finally out of here. We don't need it. And there's the key. We need to lower our electric rates. We are the highest in the nation in the East Coast. And the last but not least, 68.5% of our electricity is generated from foreign oil and foreign natural gas. So be aware of that. Foreign oil and foreign natural gas is the generation of electricity. 68.5%. Thank you.
Mr. Leonard, anything further on that?
Well, RGGI's not a perfect plan. In fact, it was changed by the House, and it was actually the Senate that kept it in place this last legislative session. It's something that definitely needs to be looked at. It has returned something like $17 million and returned $60 million in some savings. So it is a plan, it is a step in the right direction, and I would support it.
Thank you. And Kremen for Mr. Leonard.
What would you do to help promote and encourage small business growth in New Hampshire?
First of all, small business growth depends upon having an educated workforce. One of the major things that we can do to help small business is to fund our education, our university system, to build roads, bridges, infrastructure that also pertains to high-tech communication systems. I think those are the keys. Those are the things that businesses are looking for. In addition, cooperating with some of the economic development commissions, both in Belknap County, Stratford County, offering them support at the state level, technical advice if needed, but mostly creating an atmosphere of open communication and cooperation with business communities, and our state government will help bring business to New Hampshire.
Thank you, Mr. Cataldo.
One of the things we did these past 2 years, we recognized the government is not the instigator of creating jobs. entrepreneurs, investors, small business owners, people who have just ideas. Like when I started my restaurant, it was my idea. I remember when I was 7 years old and 12 years old, working in the bakery, my mom and dad, and ringing up that cash register for the first time. That's when it's done. It's done at a young age. Your education is very, very important to get these people to understand. We need to bring jobs into New Hampshire. Our economy is faltering. Understand that, what's happening in this country today. And I'm going to be honest with you. The only way you're going to create and help the economy in this country is to get rid of that man in the White House. Or this country's going to die.
Wow. Wow. Boy.
Go ahead.
My opponent has a voting record, and I just want to point out that he has voted to lower the dropout age in our school system to 16. He has voted to eliminate compulsory education, and he's also voted he's definitely voted against promoting education in New Hampshire, and that is just not good for promoting job growth in New Hampshire.
One of these you didn't understand. One of the things I went through as a child, I went to private school, which wasn't a private school, but it was a Catholic grammar school, Catholic high school, that I paid for. So a lot of things were thrown at me that I went to a private school. I paid for that education for my 4 years. And what the news media didn't tell you that day is my dad died my freshman year too, that I paid for my education. But the quote was, Sam went to private school. I understand what education is. I worked all my years of my education, nights, not days. I went back to my 50th reunion, and I saw 289 students graduate, and they all went to college. What was different at that school that's done not in New Hampshire? When I see a 23.5% dropout rate in my town, something is wrong. And you didn't understand that. When something is wrong, we need to correct it. 16 years old, I haven't got a problem with 16 because there's one thing he that gets to tell you. The superintendent of the school and also the parent have to agree that they can run that school at 16. And that's the way the law reads, by the way. So understand the real way what we did in New Hampshire. And you can go to bogus ideas and so forth, but it ain't gonna work. We did our job in the last 2 years. We balanced our budget, and we got things squared away in New Hampshire the right way.
Thank you. Before we move on to the next question, I just want to remind folks at home that you can email questions to us at forum@rochesternh.net, or you can call in. The phone number is 335-7557.